This is not a ride sharing video. I repeat, this is not a ride sharing video. What up, folks? Once again, it's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. For those of you watching this on YouTube, understand it may be a couple days delayed because the programs do have MAGA, Trump like content, and that can lead to some censorship. So understand that. What up, folks? As you can see behind me on the monitor, it is that day once again. Independence Day 2023, July 4th. Nevertheless, we're going to be talking about something that you're hearing from a hell of a lot of Americans, particularly because of what has come down the pipe politically in recent days. So we're going to start out by asking a simple question. Are you feeling less not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary? So if we can continue the program without it freezing too much, we're going to go straight to the box shortly, but that's what we're asking. Is your patriotism, has it been shaken or stirred because of all of the rulings of the Supreme Court in the last week or so? That's what we're asking. Looking in the comments, and I do appreciate you folks that are joining in. Hopefully it's not freezing too much. We'll try to make it happen. We'll go straight to the box. Move. Tito Cat, if it's freezing too bad, we may have to restart it. Move. Good afternoon.
What's going on, handsome liberal? How are you, man?
I don't know, man. We're talking about, patriotism with all of these rulings coming down the pipe from the Supreme
Hmm.
Court. Has it affected you at all now that we appear to be going backwards?
Me personally, no, they haven't gotten to my group yet, but I do empathize with other people. So I think Biden should expand the court. I mean, he's not the type of guy that's going to do that, but he should.
Yeah, but what about the notion that if you pack the courts, eventually it could come back our way and the right could do the same thing?
That's fine. You keep doing it until it's done. You know what I mean? I don't care. I don't care what the right. I'm not worried about the right. I don't lead my life worried about what the right's going to do. I have to be their opposition. It's my job to oppose their agenda. So I will do whatever it takes to oppose their agenda. I don't care what they do.
So currently we have 9 Supreme Court justices. How far would you suggest we pack it?
As many as it takes to overrule all the bullshit that they've come back with on abortion and affirmative action. I would say, probably put three more in there.
Well, right now it is 6-3 in favor of the right. So if you put 3 more in there, then you'd have 12 total. But that could lead to a tie. That would make it an odd number.
I mean, then you go four. You make it so you don't end up with a tie. You know what I
Right.
mean? Then you go four more. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
So you
Yeah.
want to put 4 liberals on the courts?
Yeah, man, absolutely, sure. I mean, not liberals, no. Progressives, man, no. Liberals, no.
No.
No, God forbid, man. No, no liberals, man. Only progressives. Progressives, my dude. People who are not taking money from corporations, because that's a huge problem with the Supreme Court right now. No liberals, no conservatives, no one taking corporate money, man. No.
Mm. So, well, in regards to corporate money, that would have to be a law or something passed because apparently even Sotomayor and some of them have taken money
Yeah.
to some degree, not as much as Clarence
Mhm.
Thomas, for instance, but they've taken gifts too.
I mean, I don't expect judges to be without bias, man. But when you have any type of corporate influence in there at all, you have no chance of fairness whatsoever. So you really have to get that out of there. And until you do, you have a court that's condemned to a corporate rule. You're never going to get fairness or justice out of a Supreme Court like that.
Yeah. Well, how do you respond to folks when you talk about packing the court? How do you respond to folks like Jay Doe in the comments that would suggest
Mm.
that is cheating? He said that's known as cheating. If you're talking about packing the courts because you can't get the votes, is
Yeah,
that not
I don't
cheating
care
to
what he
some
says. I don't care. I don't care what he says. You know what I mean? I don't care. He can go pound sand. I don't care. I'm going to pack the court. I want Biden to pack the court. I want to overturn what they've done. The Republicans are a huge power grab right now. That needs to be stopped. And I don't care what he says, man. I'm not worried about people in the comments at all. They can go
Do
pound
you?
sand, dude.
Okay, well, and Jack is asking, well, if you don't care about what people are saying, do you care
Yeah.
about the Constitution? Because what you're
No.
suggesting is unconstitutional.
I mean, they can say what they want to say, man. The president's allowed to do what I'm saying. It's not unconstitutional. So they can say what they want. They can be as mad as they want. But Biden needs to pack that court, and he needs to overturn what they've done because they are on a huge power grab right now. And they're a bunch of fascists coming with their nonsense on LGBTQ people, gay people. They're going to try to turn back that. They may even come after civil rights. You need to stop them now. You need to nip this in the bud now, and you need to take it as far as you have to stop them. I don't care what these people say. They can whine and complain and play their fake victim card all they want. I don't care.
Yeah. And I will say this in regards to what you're talking. I don't believe it is unconstitutional to pack the courts. I don't think the Constitution specifies that it has to be 9 judges. So I would have to that's something that would have to be taken up by constitutional attorneys and things like that. But if we were to pack the courts
Mhm.
and start taking the country back in, because you said progressives, you're not even talking liberals, you're talking
Yeah.
really to the left. Do you
Yeah.
think there could potentially be civil unrest by doing that?
You know what, man? There was already civil unrest before, dude. You have them already trying to overthrow Congress. You need to stop these dudes and get their power out of their hands before they get too powerful for you to stop them. I mean, there's already civil unrest. You already had an attempted coup. What more do you want from them, right?
Well, you're talking 4 progressive judges. Now you're talking about literally going after the Second Amendment. You do realize that, right?
That's fine. You know what I mean? Amendments, the Constitution is meant to be changed. You need progressives in there because they're not going to take corporate money. They're going to act in the people's interests. And you don't have that right now with this court, okay? These Republicans, man, it all comes down on them. You know what I mean? These rules that the Supreme Court is putting in place is against their own self-interest. They're ruling in favor of corporations, not you guys. You know what I mean? So I don't know what
Well,
you all have a hard on for them about, but they're against you.
yeah, I got to move it on. But even though I tend to agree with you, they believe that ruling in favor of corporations is in their best interest. They believe that as long as corporations are strong and functioning in a capitalist society, they're going to somehow turn around and do what's right by the workers. So they believe it is in their best interest.
Well, I mean, you can believe what you want to believe, but the last 50 years proves you wrong, right? That it hasn't worked out for you so far, right? That's why you're MAGA now, right? You're hoping that that's your last ditch effort, right? To overturn the government because it hasn't worked out for you for the last 50 years. This is your last hurrah. Well, good luck.
Ooh.
Good luck, guys.
All right, move 13 Supreme Court justices. Wow, that would be a radical change. Appreciate you coming on and enjoy your holiday, man.
Yeah, you too, man. You have a good one. Happy 4th.
Absolutely, absolutely. What do you guys think? Pack the court. 13 at 4 more liberal Supreme Court. Better yet, he said progressive. So we're not even necessarily talking Democratic. We're talking progressives. Talking the AOCs, the Elizabeth Warrens, the Bernie Sanders types. Progressives. 4 of them on the court. That would certainly make a difference. For us liberals, that would certainly make a difference. Anyhow, we're going to keep it moving. As always, the program is and shall forever remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are the preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. If you got a disagreement with the host, nobody gives a damn. So understand when you come in the box or in the comments, nobody gives a damn if your opinion is totally different from everyone else. I strongly believe you have the right to speak, and we're going to defend that here as much as we can. So don't worry about the speech with the host. Go into the comments here. Please put Trump in office. Julius, that's not how it works. He got to win the election. He has to win the election. Biden saved us from the pandemic, says Mario. Yeah, there's a lot of people that believe that Trump was really handling the pandemic poorly and that Biden gave us more direction under that. But MAGA may have a difference of opinion. Real quick, tap the screen. 300 plus of you in here. Helps out the algorithms, brings in more MAGA. So tap the screen, get your boy up to 5,000 likes. Let's kick it off. All of you folks, hopefully you're having a wonderful July 4th. What the whole purpose of this live stream is to ask, due to all of the Supreme Court rulings recently, rolling back Roe v. Wade, there's no longer affirmative action institutions. It is now 100% legal to discriminate against the LGBT community. And of course, college tuition assistance is now a pipe dream. So are you feeling less patriotic? That is the whole purpose of the live stream. Has those rulings shaken your patriotism this Independence Day? Looking in the comment section, can we find someone else other than them two? Knee Black, that is a really good comment. Many liberals would like to see someone else other than Biden. There's not a lot of folks on the right that are willing to go with somebody else other than Trump. The support for President Trump coming from the right is far stronger than the support coming from the left for President Biden. So I don't know if the answer to that question is anything other than no, we cannot find anybody else. I want my government working straight from the Constitution. That would shut down so much. The Fed, etc., says the vintage Virgo. Love the name. Straight from the Constitution. Okay, fair enough. Trump is a 5-time draft dodger, acting like he cares about USA. Shaking my head, says Black Cat's Eye. Trump is a white nationalist, says Mark. Well, he did admit to being a nationalist. He just did not put the word white in there. Going to the box. We'll keep it moving with the life of Black Wing Z.
Good afternoon. Fuck the 4th. I'm going to just put that out there. Fuck the 4th. I don't celebrate this fucking holiday. Y'all can kiss my ass. I don't give a damn. Because I'm going like this. July 4th, 1776, we as black people were not free. I do not give a damn. Women were not free. LGBTQA was still get discriminated on. And basically, if we lived back in 1776 and the Confederates won, us being color will be in chains still to this day. So I'm going like this. Fuck the 4th. And that's just my personal opinion. But here's one thing though. I'm glad you brought up Roe versus Wade. I'm glad you brought up Roe versus Wade, handsome. Because here's one thing though. I had to put the connection through. Okay.
What do you mean?
83% of basically affirmative action cases has been white women. Let's keep it real. It's mostly
Yeah,
benefited white.
something you make a
benefited
good
white
point.
women.
You make a good point that the
But
biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action are white women. But go ahead, keep it going.
second thing, Roe versus Wade. Okay. So, and you heard on Basic People, we are saving white lives. You remember a person said that shit on the damn campaign trail. We're saving white lives. So that means basically this, right? Population wise, 50 years from now, and it's going to, here's the thing, they said it's actually turning into 20 now. 20 years from now, white Americans will be the minority. Blacks and Latinos will gain up in ranks, will be in the first and second majority in this country. So
you do believe in replacement theory. You do believe that whites are going to lose the majority.
Yeah, it's going to be more diverse, and it's going to be a good thing. This thing, though, prove me wrong. 30% of biracial marriages went off while Trump was president.
Yeah. Well, but let me respond to that. When you talk about biracial marriages, with all of these different provisions and freedoms being altered, some folks on the left do believe they're going to potentially go after interracial marriage. Do you see any possibility of that?
Yes, that's what I'm going like this, though, because they right now afraid. Because right now they're afraid that they're going to be in the minority. So they trying to basically do every single measure to put, and white women, and here's the thing, this is what their main goal is, to put y'all back in the bedroom and back in the kitchen. They want y'all back in the house.
Well, but
See,
but that, like Daddy Pooh in the comments is saying, the notion that they would go after interracial marriage is ridiculous. How do you respond to
but
people
it's true though. It's true though. It ain't like Karen Thomas didn't he said, I don't think why we just can't call it a marriage. I think interracial marriage. This is him in an interracial marriage. Interracial marriage. This is Karen Thomas talking. He said, I think interracial marriage are unconstitutional and immoral. Why we just can't call it a marriage?
He said he believes that interracial marriage is unconstitutional and
immoral.
immoral. He's in an interracial marriage.
Exactly. So I'm going like this. So I'm literally going like this. You think that black folks give a fuck about affirmative action? No, we don't. We don't. Here's one thing though. First of all, that's right. You trying to basically ban basically affirmative action in colleges, mostly PWIs, not HBCUs, which technically is affirmative action. Y'all denied people from going to your PWIs, so we had to invent our own Greeks, our organizations, our own educational program, and also our own historical black colleges and universities. You will see an increase in the next 20 years. People going to go to HBCUs instead of PWIs. So basically, the Department of Education is going to lose money. This is too stupid to make up. So I'm going like this though. Any PWIs that's right now going on with this shit, guess what? You better make do with what you got right now. Being the fact that most PWIs are getting sued for racial discrimination, including Harvard and Yale. So I'm going to put it at that.
All
Am I
right,
lying
so
about
it's
any of
safe.
this?
So it's safe to say this July 4th, you feeling real unpatriotic.
I'm feeling basically this right. Rights are getting taken away. Here's the thing. There are discriminative damn laws that's basically in the books under Jim Crow, including HB 20. You might want to look that up. I don't care. Basically, putting it out there. And it ain't the fact that I voted. Here's the thing. I will say this again. Handsome, I've been on your lives before. Have I ever said I voted for Biden?
I don't recall. I
No,
don't
I have
recall
not.
that.
I looked at
Okay.
Twitter debates and I said this. If they ain't talking about the anti-police brutality, the higher education rate, taking programs out of schools, including trades, I'm going like this. I'm not voting for any one of them bastards. I don't give a fuck.
But wait a minute. Based on my analysis of you, if you do not vote for Biden or Trump, essentially you are giving Trump an upper hand in the election.
Here's the big thing, right? I voted locally. I couldn't decide either one. Third party sucked. Here's the thing. Keep it real. We had a damn party called the birthday party. This how bad it was. In
But wait,
2016, we had
before you
no.
get into that, though, you do realize if you sit this one out, Biden versus Trump, you're helping Trump. You do
But
realize that,
here's the
right?
big. But here's the thing, though. One, Trump doesn't have a running mate. Nobody wants to run with him except NGT. Do you really want MGT? I really want to ask Trump supporters. Do you really want this crazy bitch to be your vice president? And y'all complain
Okay.
about Kamala Harris?
Well, wait a minute. Yes, as opposed to Biden and Kamala, they will take a crazy bitch for their vice president. The answer is yes.
MGT. This girl said, if I was a slave, I'd be proud to be a slave. She said that in recording. I can tag you in the story. She said, for the statues that's being up, I think we should be proud that basically but look what we accomplished. We came from
But you're
slavery.
not changing. I get your opinion. I mean, I get your point. The rhetoric is awful, but you're not changing any hearts and minds. They're looking across
I'm
the
not
aisle
going
and
to
seeing.
change
Wait
Art's
a minute.
mind. You want to throw your
They're listening to what you're saying. They're looking across the aisle and seeing Biden and Kamala Harris, and they're like, I don't give a damn what they're saying. I'm not going to vote for Biden
can
and
I basically
Kamala
put this in
Harris.
perspective? I'm going to put this in perspective, handsome. I'm going to put this in perspective. The reason that Camilla and Biden won is because one, the Trump court basically took this way overboard, and started patrolling voting booths. I can actually tag you in plenty of stories where y'all try to deny people the right to vote if we were not voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Two,
Yeah.
two.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. During the pandemic, y'all want to stay in the fucking house. Most of us were scared to basically go out the house because we were scared of sick and dying if we literally had. Mind you, I lost 4 relatives to COVID. Do you really think I wanted to basically go outside? Anyway, I was lucky enough to basically go to work and back.
Yeah.
So you got to
Well,
factor in that
they
shit.
call COVID.
Number three,
Okay.
Trump's rhetoric. Trump and Biden's rhetoric. I don't give a fuck. One said you ain't black, basically if you ain't black, you ain't voted for me. And the other one basically said I still think they were I still think they were guilty. There was so much evidence to the Central Park Five while passing the prison reform bill. Tell me
All
I
right.
ain't lying about this.
I get it. I got to move it on. You are passionate as hell this holiday. I understand you don't give a damn about the holiday, and there's many folks that are like you as well. But I do got to move it on, man. Appreciate you coming in here.
No problem.
Good talk. Good talk. All right. And now,
That is the whole purpose of the topic today is we're asking, in light of a hell of a lot of controversial rulings from the Supreme Court, do you feel less patriotic? You hear my last caller. He pretty much said F the holiday. He has no love or no desire to honor July 4th at all. Now, he does make a good point. Folks like him, folks like me, did not celebrate any independence or freedom July 4th, 1776 anyhow. So he does make a good point from that standpoint. But let's take that actual portion of history out of the picture. Just in light of what has happened with the Supreme Court in the last few weeks, has that shaken your patriotism any at all? Tap the screen, get your boy up to 10,000 likes. There's nearly 500 of you in here. You could be anywhere you want to be this holiday. Appreciate you rolling with your boy. The program is, always will remain, MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome. You know what we always say. You don't have to agree with the damn host on the program. So when you're in the box, understand even if your opinion is totally opposite of mine, nobody's going to censor or limit your time. Andy, I do appreciate your generosity. Let's talk. Good afternoon.
Andy, we're asking, has your patriotism been shaken in light of recent rulings? Good afternoon, Andy.
Yes, sir. Hello. How are you doing today?
You
I am
know, I
not
don't
celebrating the
know.
holiday my own self.
Say that again. You said your what
I
holiday?
am not celebrating this holiday my own self.
Wow. And is your reason similar to my last caller?
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. Where, what is the direction of this country if we're getting to the point now where even the traditional holidays, folks are just simply not feeling it anymore?
Well, I mean, considering the Supreme Court took whites from women, the LGBTQIA, I mean, they took affirmative action. Is there anybody they haven't hit other than, Christian white males? Let's be honest.
Well, you got to understand, folks on the right believe that is the group that is the most disadvantaged. They believe Christian white males are the ones that are being ostracized by everybody. So they believe that group needs some assistance.
This whole country was set up for that group. What are they talking about? They have every single advantage in the world. If they can't make it in this country, that just goes to show nobody can, and they're not even trying.
Yeah. Well, you got people like President Trump who offers to shoot whites more than anybody else. Folks talk about how Christianity gets attacked more than any other religion, how it's almost unpopular to be heterosexual. They're suggesting that straight Christian white males are under attack. You've heard about replacement theory, right?
Bless their hearts, is all I can say. And being a white Christian male is not under attack. It is saluted in every form, fashion across this nation. Give us a break. They're going to let women in my state pass away from a miscarriage because they don't even know what the term medical abortion means. They got rid of all the gun laws. So, hey, when crime in Alabama goes up, you'll know why. And they want to blame like Democratic cities. Oh, it's their fault. Well, you got to go by the state laws. And if the state says nobody has to go get checked for a gun, well, you have to accept what happens. And they can whine and moan and cry all they want, but they're the reason why we have quit celebrating this holiday. You
Mm.
cannot keep taking freedoms from people while crying the victim and saying, poor, poor, pitiful me. Donald Trump took those documents. He put us all in danger. You know what they're saying? We don't care.
Well, speaking of firearms, you talked about guns. We just had two mass casualty events over the holidays. We had one yesterday in I think
Heartbreaking.
Baltimore. There were two folks who lost their lives and 28 hit, and I think Philadelphia last night there was another guy walking down the street with an AR-15. I think he got a total of four that are no longer alive, and there are
Now,
others wounded. So, but let me ask
Elizabeth,
you
let
this
me ask
question,
you a
because
question.
okay,
If
okay,
that
go
guy
ahead.
had been black walking down the street with an AR, what do you think they'd have done to him?
Yeah, well, we've
Why
had
does the
some,
Second Amendment only work for white guys?
but not necessarily true. The DC sniper was black, and he took out a lot of people.
Well, like we had one at the mall, and all these good guys with a gun pulled out a weapon, and when the cops got there, they shot the one black guy with a gun that was the good guy with the gun, and didn't even get the perpetrator.
Which
So,
you make a good point, because even though I carry, I'm often one that says I would never try to play good Samaritan in a mass casualty event, because you're right. When the cops show up, whoever they see with a firearm is likely to get popped. And you don't know necessarily when they're going to show up. So it's not like you can look for them and try to let them know I'm the good guy and my hands are up. They may sneak on the scene and see you first with a firearm and shoot you. So I'm not a big fan of playing Good Samaritan.
I don't know what this comment means. She must be on her back for the ninjas. Let me put it this way. The cops play judge, jury,
Wow.
and executioner on a regular basis, which, by the way, is unconstitutional because you deserve a jury of your peers, which is what we're going to give Donald Trump, unfortunately, even though I don't think he deserves it. But everybody gets a jury of their peers and a grand jury. Cops do not get to make that determination because they're scared. And if they're scared, then I highly suggest they get a new line of work.
Yeah. Well, you're talking Parkland, Florida is a perfect example of that, of a cop that allowed children to be, murdered basically, and he did not go in. So there are some fearful people with firearms. But let me ask you this, because I had this a couple callers ago. In light of all of these rulings, controversial rulings from the Supreme Court that you and some of my other callers are saying, making you feel unpatriotic, do you believe that Democrats should pack the courts if they have the opportunity?
Considering the fact until we can make a law that says if you lie to Congress when you're getting your job, that we can do. We may not we may not have any control over the Supreme Court, but if we like put it in there where if they lie to Congress, they're automatically disqualified because they all stood up there and said that Roe was, settled law, knowing
Well,
good and well that's not what they were going to do.
yeah, but
And
is that
so
officially? But I mean, coming, when you look at it from the standpoint of a lawyer, you have to ask the question: is that misleading, or is it officially a lie? Is it actual
they
perjury,
asked
or
them
did they?
every way possible. They
Yeah,
lied. I
yeah.
mean, you can go back and watch them now. I mean, they danced around it, and I mean, the Democratic senators did such a good job at nailing them down to getting them to say it was settled law that for them to turn around and do that, if you lied on your job application, how long do you think you'd stay hired?
That's a good point. So, what do you think is the likelihood of escalation? We've lost Roe v. Wade, affirmative action in higher learning institutions. You can now discriminate against the LGBT community. Do you have any fear or even a hint of that they could go after, say, interracial marriage or roll back gay marriage rights? Do you see any
Yeah,
possibility at all
I'm
that could
terrified of
happen?
that because of what I saw in Tennessee. And for you all, I would never go out with a conservative man. Like, never. I have rules, I have standards.
What is it about conservative men that disqualifies you from dating them?
Well, first of all, any lack of rational thinking. Um, at this point, if you're still supporting the conservatives, I highly trust your judgment and your ability to put others before yourself or this country before.
Mm. Well, give me an example of, you say lack of rational thought. Give me an example of a popular opinion among conservatives that, in your opinion, is totally irrational.
Hearing Trump say, I have these documents that I can't unclassify anymore now that I'm not president. But here they are, and them going every excuse under the sun. I cannot wait for this trial. I have been waiting for so long. But on this 4th of July, I didn't celebrate last 4th of July and didn't celebrate the one before that because we went out and I had on a mask because I have a an autoimmune disease that, and it was in the middle of COVID.
Mhm.
A guy walked up to me while I was minding my own business in line getting a Coke and said, I ought to rip that unpatriotic mask right off your effing face. Well,
Damn.
he didn't know me, and I'm, not the type to back down from anybody. No, I'm not lying. Yeah, whatever, children. Y'all ain't even enough for me to bother
Let
with.
me let me
I
interrupt you and
turned
ask you this.
around on
Since
him
you,
and told him, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And if you think you're man enough to rip it off my face, please go ahead. And since I used to be a bouncer and a bartender in a biker bar, I'm 5'7", I weigh 180 pounds and full muscle, and
Mm.
took judo and jujitsu. Y'all come on, I'll be waiting.
Okay, I'm slightly turned on, but let me ask you this. Now, in the comments, GJ is saying, based on your statements, you should leave America, and Mookie follows up by saying, go to Canada. How do you feel about Americans that when they hear
Wait,
your statements telling you to leave your homeland?
I'm gonna tell them what Donald Trump said. If you don't like this country under this administration, you can leave. So my president's doing me a fine job. And Trump has already got it set up for y'all in Hungary. They're building y'all a place in Russia. I mean, if the world is setting up for you, why am I stay? Why am I gotta leave?
Yeah. Fair enough. All right, Andy. I got to move it on. By the way, I appreciate those fireworks. That was beautiful. I was in the conversation. I did want
Well,
to
look,
acknowledge that. So I do got to move it on. But I give you the last word. Go ahead.
since I'm not celebrating the holiday and going to see some fireworks, I figured I'd give you some for doing, a good job and talking to people on both sides and trying to understand. I appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely. Nothing but love. Come on back anytime. All right. Looking in and enjoy your holiday too. Look at
Comments, by the way, folks, tap the screen. Maybe 20,000 likes might be possible this holiday season if you let your thumbs not be lazy, or on this holiday, rather. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Show your boy some love. Tap the screen, maybe 20,000 likes. We got 500 of you in here. The question we're asking, and let me make it clear before I even pose the question, this is a MAGA-friendly program. I haven't had a lot of MAGA yet, but MAGA are my preferred guests. So understand that liberals are welcome, but MAGA are the preferred guests. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So if you disagree with yours truly, whether you're in the comment section or in the box, nobody gives a damn. You have a right to free speech. Yeah! Dot! Thank you for the hat and mustache. Thank you. Have a good holiday. Appreciate that. So tap the screen, get your boy up to 20,000. Looking in the comment section, MJ Johnson says MAGA is celebrating, and that's true. Even though Trump is not currently in the White House and dealing with a host of I'm looking at the hat and mustache Mookie. Yeah, you threw me off. But even though Trump is dealing with a hell of a lot of litigation orbiting around him and things like that, he does have that phrase, you're going to get tired of winning. And right now, based on the rulings of the Supreme Court, many folks on the right, my beloved MAGA, feel like they're currently winning. These are big changes, folks. These, particularly Roe v. Wade and affirmative action. These are big changes to what was pretty much the status quo for the last 50 years. And it's only come because of Trump. Not Bush, not Reagan, not Nixon, not, George H. I mean, this has come because of Trump. So those are huge victories for Trump, whether you agree with them or not. Those are huge victories, and they only came because of Trump. Looking in the comments, yes, it is. Yeah, Wayne, I do agree with that. Black and Native Americans were not free on July 4th. That is true. In fact, no one was free on July 4th but straight white males who owned property. Even if you were a white male and you did not have property, you could not vote on July 4th, 1776. So it was only a small select group of individuals that truly were free on July 4th. If you really want to look at it accurately, Obama was a better president than Biden, and Obama was terrible. Damn. Yikes, there says Jax. We'll go to the box. Appreciate you folks tapping the screen, trying to get your boy up to 20,000 likes. It's just a request. I'd love if you can make that happen. We're going to go to Rory Kane Corso. Hopefully this thing doesn't freeze up, but we'll keep it moving. Come on, MAGA, says Ronnie.
like I said, MAGA are my preferred guest, and I got a lot of liberals coming through as well. So it is what it is. Rory Kane, happy holiday. Good afternoon.
How do you, liberal?
Hey, I'm doing real good, man. So, do you feel, in light of the Supreme Court rulings, has that shaken your patriotism at all?
Not a bit.
Do you favor what has happened?
I mean, I could care less, really. So,
So for instance, the rolling back of Roe v. Wade, you don't have any opinion on,
That
on that.
that one I approve of because they're killing too many babies.
Okay. So you're in favor of basically banning abortion.
Well, not banning it, but making it harder. I'm pro-lifer.
Okay. Well, in some areas they have banned it completely, even in cases of incest and sexual assault.
I think that should be done on a case-to-case basis, but
What about what about making it so you can legally discriminate against the LGBT community? Do you favor that?
not necessarily. But I don't want LGBT pushing in everybody's face either.
What do you mean by if I own a donut shop and I'm not a big fan of this community, I don't want them coming in here, two dudes holding hands or something like that,
Like,
and I feel like
there's
that is poor. Go ahead.
there's some gay people on TikTok that don't like it either.
Okay, but we're talking to you right now, though. I'm asking you if you had a donut shop and you didn't want to serve this community, should you be allowed to make that choice?
That's up to them, really.
So, so you don't have an opinion on it at all.
No.
Okay. What about rolling back affirmative action in higher learning institutions?
Well, I heard that was because a lot of Asian people wasn't getting in. They had the grades and the IQ, but they weren't getting in.
Okay, so now that it has been rolled back, do you think it would affect African Americans trying to get in?
Maybe. I mean, it doesn't benefit me in any way. So
So you pass it.
yeah, I'm passing.
You do realize that is how, say, slavery and Jim Crow was allowed to fester, is that most folks are like, it doesn't affect me, so I'm passive on it.
I mean, I liked it the way it was, but there was other races that didn't, so that's why they changed it.
Okay. And last but not least, the pretty much making it so that you can't give the tuition forgiveness that Biden was trying to give. You do believe that that was also a good thing, right?
Yeah, because you know I'm not paying for college. Why should we have to pay for other people to go to college?
Yeah.
If you make the bill, you got to pay that bill.
So what if I was to counter by saying I don't have a problem with immigrants, so why should my tax money have to pay for the wall? Do you believe I should be able to deny any of my tax money going to pay for a wall?
If you so choose, but you got to remember, if those immigrants get in, you're going to pay twice as much for those immigrants to be here.
Yeah, it depends on if the individual is making a lot of money. I mean, if you're making 10 or 11 bucks an hour, there's none of your money going to pay for immigrants. You're not making shit anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, yeah. So when you talk about the damage that immigrants do, there's a 30 group of Americans that are not affected by it at all because at the end of the day, they're not making much money anyway.
Yes.
Okay. So last but not least, how do you think America would fare if the liberals did decide to pack the courts to roll back the Republican majority? Let's say, for instance, the liberals added four more Supreme Court justices, and now they had a majority. Do you think America would issue any similar anything?
Yes, I think they would, because there's a lot of
Mm.
people that don't like the country right now that are, all upset.
Yeah, but there's always people that don't like the country.
Yeah, but there's a lot of Americans, patriotic Americans, that are upset right now.
Give me your definition. When you say a patriotic American, what do you elaborate? What is that to you?
People that have loved their country, that their families have served, and care about what's going on in this country.
Well, could you not be a Democrat that has family members that have served and you care about the rolling back of Roe v. Wade? Can't you be that way as a progressive that wants to pack the court?
I guess, but a lot of liberals are not for the country. A lot of liberals want all this crazy stuff.
Give me an example of crazy stuff.
like the whole trans and all that, and kids, pushing the sex on kids. Kids should not be having sex at 9, learn about sex at 9 years old.
What about the whole melee over the Bud Light cans? Was that about protecting children?
Yes.
So you're thinking children and child drinkers of Bud Light were being placed in danger?
No, is pushing it in everything, clothing, beer, everything.
Yeah, but kids don't drink beer. That's an adult beverage.
No,
Putting
but they may watch it on TV. They might see the commercial.
so in other words, you believe that a child should not be exposed to the transgender lifestyle in any way, fashion, or form.
At the right, they should be at an age to choose for themselves. They should not have it chosen for them.
But if you put a transgender individual in a beer commercial, how does that affect children?
That mostly affects the men. Most trans people don't drink beer. Men drink beer. Women don't even drink beer.
How do you know that transgender people don't drink beer?
Because I've never seen a transgender drink beer.
How many transgender people have you seen?
Like if I go out to a bar, I might see a transgender. They're usually sipping on wine or mixed drinks.
I don't listen. I don't have a lot of transgender people in my life, but I'm gonna tell you right the bat, there's no way you can make that type of claim unless you're
I'm
hanging
just
out
saying.
around a lot of people.
Who do you know that drinks beer? It's mostly men, right?
No, there's a lot of women that drink beer. I don't drink at all, so I can't. That's why I'm pleading ignorance. I don't drink beer. I don't drink any alcohol, so I'm pleading ignorance. But I'm going to assume that changing your gender doesn't change your desire to have alcohol.
No, but men aren't going to drink beer with a transgender woman on it
Why not?
because it's it's just weird, you know.
Is it homophobic?
Maybe I don't know.
Okay. All right. It sounds like it might be homophobic to me. I mean, because if the only reason why you're not drinking a can of beer that has the liquid inside that you enjoy, you're not drinking it because of what's on the can. I mean, that really does sound like it might be a little bit of hatred toward the community.
Look, I'm a man. I drink beer. I like drinking my beer. I don't need to see a transgender woman on a beer can for me to want to drink it.
So if I were to hand you $100 bill, let's say you're at a casino or you're out somewhere and they give you some change, and something in one of the $100 bills they give you, somebody don't drew a wig on George Washington's head or Ben Franklin in this case, and they made him look like a woman. Would you not take that $100 bill because it has a woman on it?
I'd give it to somebody else.
All right, Rory, you drive a hard bargain. I do got to move it on, but you drive a hard bargain, man. Come on back anytime.
Thank you, liberal.
Hey, my door's always open to you. Have a good holiday.
See ya.
Hey, all right.
In the comments. Wow. Okay. All right. Let me go back to the box. You guys, Tim, if you don't bring me up, Army vet, I got you. I saw you holding. I do appreciate that. Republicans complain so much not to have answers. He had answers. Michael Hampton, the last guest, did have some answers. I had to kind of pull him out of them, but generally I'm a little bit more patient when someone says they do not have an opinion on what appears to be some of the most controversial rulings in our lifetime. So I don't believe there are any voting constituents in 2023 that does not have an opinion on all that shit that just came out of the SCOTUS. So you kind of have to speak to folks a little bit more in detail because I believe everybody has an opinion on that. Such as when Ron DeSantis was asked, how does he feel about what happened on January 6th? And he responded by saying he didn't have an opinion, he wasn't there that day. You can hear when folks are saying something that makes no sense, and sometimes you got to talk a little bit more. Looking in the comments, they only put Dylan's face on one can as a keepsake to her. It was not in stores. Well, it doesn't matter. You're teaming up with a transgender, and there is hatred towards that community. So that was all they needed to do. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 30,000 likes. Appreciate you folks rolling with me on this Independence Day. You could be out and doing some other shit. And the fact that you're here with me, it's always a pleasure. We'll keep it moving. How long?
What time you leaving? All right. All right, Army vet. Good afternoon. Happy Independence Day. So the Supreme Court,
Okay.
these
So
huge
first
rulings.
and foremost,
Go ahead.
Day. So we'll leave it at that, and then we'll move on to the next thing because that last caller really got to me.
How so?
So first of all, beer is nasty as hell.
Okay. But
So
how
he's
did
sitting up
the
here
last
talking like
caller
only
get to you?
men, real men drink beer. I drink tequila. So if he want to drink beer, then he can take his pussy ass on and drink beer. But beer is not a manly drink to me. So we'll leave that at that. Okay. Now, as
Yeah,
far as the Supreme
but wait
Court,
a
packing
minute.
the
You
Supreme.
saying that beer is for pussy. I mean that's kind of you're stereotyping the same way he's suggesting that transgender do not drink beer.
I did that on. I did that on purpose. I did that on
Okay.
purpose because he sit up
All
there
right.
talking about only real men drink beer, and I'm like, that's bullshit because beer is nasty. It tastes like fucking cold piss or hot piss. That's my opinion. Okay, so
Okay,
don't sit up here
fair
and
enough.
say that only men drink beer, right? I don't. That's crazy. But
Okay.
when we
Okay.
talk about the Supreme, let's get back to the politics of it. That's just my opinion. He pissed me off. All right. So packing the Supreme Court, I do not think that Democrats should pack the Supreme Court. Okay, and that's because if you pack the Supreme Court 13-6 or whatever they need to do to pack the Supreme Court, then once Republicans are in power, they're going to do the same thing. So where does it end?
Yep. Yep. That is
Right.
true.
So I don't think they
We'd have
should
a
pack the
hundred
Supreme
justices by
Court.
the time we'd have 100 justices by the time we're done.
Right. Now, on the flip side of that, there are 13 appellate judges. So why not have 13 Supreme Court judges if we have 13 appellate judges?
But the folks on the right are not going to agree with expanding the court from 9 to 13. You basically
Of course
are
they're
in
not.
favor of packing the court.
So here's my thing, right? For Democrats to say pack the court, don't pack the court, get your ass out and vote. If we get
Yeah.
out and vote, when Clarence Thomas and the other clowns decide that they want to retire or they expire from this planet Earth, if you're voting like you should be voting, then we'll have Democrats that are able to then put progressives or liberals in those seats. Okay?
But
Y'all sat up
here's the
there and
problem
didn't.
with that, though. But
Yeah,
here's the
go ahead.
problem with that. Wait. Here's the problem with that. They stopped Obama from picking. And when we had a liberal president in office, and it was his stance to rightfully pick a Supreme Court justice, and they still prevented him from picking one. So I don't even know if voting
Why?
alone can solve
How
it.
are Tim, how are they able to do that? In 2010, Democrats didn't show the hell up to vote, and that allowed Republicans to take over the Senate,
Yeah.
which allowed them to hold up Obama's pick. So if progressives, liberals, Democrats, whatever you want to call them, if they want the Supreme Court to change, they need to get their asses out there on midterms, on presidential every 4 years, every 2 years. They need to vote locally. If they're not doing that, then I don't want to hear shit about pack the courts. You had an opportunity to control the courts, but you didn't do it. You had an opportunity in 2016 not to bring Trump's ass in there and vote Hillary in, and we wouldn't have the situation. But the same ones crying about pack the courts didn't bring their ass to the polls back then. So right now, I don't want to hear shit. Get your ass out here in 2024. Vote Biden's old ass back in here, because no matter what his age is, he has experience. He has brought NATO together. He has brought a coalition together in the in the Pacific in Asia. So he's doing a lot of things. The economy's booming. Full unemployment starts at 4%. The whole time Biden's been in office has been below 4%. Okay, so the economy is doing good. Don't talk to me about gas prices. Y'all was crying about gas prices when it was $5. Now gas prices here is $3.09, and if you have a membership, it's $2.90 something. So they ain't crying about that. You want to cry about eggs? Eggs are cheaper. So everything that they're crying about, you want to talk about the border. Just real
Wait a
quick.
minute.
Then you want to
Let
talk
me
about the
interrupt.
border. The
Let me
border
interrupt.
at this
Let
time,
me say
go
this.
ahead.
When you're pointing out the things they're crying about. They were crying about LGBT issues taking over and they're claiming it's being shoved down their throat. They were crying about they believe women were having late term abortions. A lot of stuff they were crying about, they actually got some change. They actually had some victories.
Guess what? Democrats, if you want that change, here's one thing that people are not looking at with the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is looking at individual cases. What the Supreme Court can't do is change law.
True.
So
True.
if you want LGBTQ people to have rights, vote Democrats in, they make it a law. You want affirmative action in colleges, vote Democrats in office, they make it law. Supreme Court can't do anything about it. So I don't want to hear no crying from Democrats about anything. If you're not going out here and voting like you're supposed to, you're going to get the things that's happening right now. And one last thing also on affirmative action. You want to use black people as a scapegoat on affirmative action in colleges. You have a problem with legacy students.
Yeah.
You
That has
people
been
that
all,
tried
yeah,
to
that's
get
been all
in
over the
college
news.
and didn't make it in, it ain't because black people took your slot because they're black. They had just as good as grades as you did, just as good as SAT scores as you did. They got a bump. Black and Hispanic people got a bump because of the things that we went through. But you ain't crying about the legacy. That's why there's a lawsuit against legacy students now. And let's see what the Supreme Court does about that.
I don't know,
So
but let
let's
me
keep
ask
it
you this:
real.
in regards to escalating this into other galaxies, for instance, folks are suggesting that they could also end up rolling back the right to same-sex marriage and even interracial marriage. Do you think there's any chance of that?
There's always a chance. I don't think that people are going to push it that far, but I'm glad you brought that up because the state that I'm in the state of Indiana. There's a representative, Mike Braun. Mike Braun actually said in an interview that they should roll back the ruling on interracial marriages. Look it up. Mike Braun, Mikebraun. He actually said that in an interview.
And
So
he
there
was
are people on the right that want to repeal the ability to have interracial marriages.
and you said
That's the Republican Party.
he's a
He's a
representative in
representative from the
Indiana.
state of Indiana.
All right.
Yes,
You know what's
Mike
interesting?
Braun.
It's interesting you say that because there is also a representative in, I think, South Carolina that wanted women that have an abortion to qualify for an execution. So there are some pretty hard right legislators out there because of this stuff.
Listen, my whole thing is I look at it in this way, right? There's not one party that has all the solutions and they're perfectly right every single time. But this is what I will say. Democrats may not give you everything that you want, but Republicans are taking shit away from you. So you cannot say that you are a patriot if you are taking rights away from people. There's a reason why Republicans always talk about states' rights. Because if you give states rights, then states will take those rights away from you, and there's nothing that the federal government can do. So you have to make it a federal law because states' rights do not override federal law.
Yeah.
And
And
so
I will say this in conclusion. I got to move it on, but I will say this. I have never heard of states' rights being used to give people rights. Every time I hear somebody promoting states' rights, it is exactly what you said. They're trying to take something away. That's when you hear folks talking about states' rights. I have never heard of a state saying we want the right to give people extra shit. It is, like you said, it's usually to take a freedom away.
and one last thing before I go, Tim.
Sure.
For all the people, and trust me, I am a 2A advocate, okay? But people that talk about the Second Amendment, I want them to really understand what the Second Amendment, how it came about. The Second Amendment came about is because the federal government was saying, hey, we need your militias. If the federal government needs them to come and fight for the country, that they have to leave where they are to come fight for the country. And those states' right individuals said, no, if we do that, then we have nobody to regulate these slaves. And so the Second Amendment was pushed in order to make sure that the local militias were able to stay in the state they were to keep people enslaved and not have to go fight for the federal government. So all you 2A people that don't want any type of restrictions or changes to the Second Amendment, you're full of shit. You're a racist, and it is what it is. And if you don't like it, look it up. But then again, MAGA people don't look up anything. They need their daddy Trump to tell them what it is.
All right, Army. Good talk. Enjoy your holiday,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Absolute. All right, looking in.
Box. So keep it moving as always. The program is and shall forever remain MAGA friendly. I understand a lot of my guests are leaning more left, but nevertheless, we don't block, ban, or censor anyone. So we do go from left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. So we do accept all opinions. It's just there are more folks on the left coming in the program right now. Looking in the comments, 2A is racist now. Leah, I don't, because I also carry, I don't submit to the Second Amendment being racist, but my last caller was suggesting that it is based on a racist policy from its inception. I don't know that for certain. I'm going to plead ignorance on this one, but I do believe that has a high possibility. Just like the police force. I don't believe the police are all racist, but the development of police in this country came out of racism. It did derive from racism. So, listen, when you look into the history of this country, so much shit derived from racism. It's hard to really separate the stuff. I mean, hell, even the word picnic derived from racism. So, I mean, it's just permeated throughout our language and everything. So, you really have to try to navigate through society with a grain of salt, because if we pulled out every damn thing that has roots in racism, this country would turn into a huge desert. It's just the way it is. Looking in the comments here, he was right. That's where it came from. Just look it up. Yeah, I would like to see that. I'm going to look it up. I support the Second Amendment, says BVR. Yeah, I think most Americans support the Second Amendment. It's not the Second Amendment. It's the unfettered access to firearms that people are complaining about. You can support having a firearm to defend yourself or defend your family without necessarily saying blind people should be able to get their hands on a 50 cal. There are certain things that folks look at and go, no, that doesn't make sense. Yours truly, I'm liberal. I do support the Second Amendment. I carry myself. However, there are three reasons why the Second Amendment is in existence, at least in my humble opinion. Number one, being able to defend yourself, your family, your loved ones. Number two, to hunt. Number three, to stave off tyranny, to prevent tyranny from taking over in this country. The first two, I'm in favor of, defending yourself and being able to hunt if that is the way you feed your family. It's the tyranny aspect where I disagree. I understand a lot of you folks have a difference of opinion and you're entitled to that. But the tyranny portion of the Second Amendment, being able to defend against tyranny, is where you start allowing citizens to have really radical firearms. I mean, because if you have to be able to defend off a tyrannical government, you need the same weapons as the government. And now what you end up doing is putting really heavy military arms in the hands of citizens. In most cases, they're using that same shit against other citizens. I mean, do you want your neighbor to take your house out with a damn tank? There has to be limitations, because tyranny is, I mean, it's just like when we bring up slavery and a lot of shit of the past. Get over that. That was 200 years ago. When was the last time there was tyranny in this country? So I just want to bring that up. It's the tyranny aspect where you start having, I want to have a 50 cal with a 100-round drum and all of that shit comes in. But if you just simply need to defend your family or hunt, you can do that with a hell of a lot less than you need to defend against a tyrannical government. Looking in the comments, I don't know what is happening here. There's tyranny now. You know, I thought about that when I said that, Pineapple. And yeah, you could certainly make a case that tyranny has always been in place in America. You could certainly make that case. The GOP is taking advantage of the red states' loyalty by getting them to vote to take, I can't see what that means from them. Well, in regards to the GOP is taking advantage of red states' loyalty, you could certainly make the argument that the Democratic Party is taking advantage of the loyalty of the liberal states. I mean, that's kind of how politics works. That's not unique to the GOP. Happy birthday, America. This is the most shining star on the planet. Really. All right, going back to the box, Takesha Blue.
Good afternoon, if into
I just came
Keisha.
up here to say one thing, cause I'm on the move, and I don't want my Wi-Fi messing up. But let me tell you something. What you're not gonna do is add to what I say. I said that I didn't think it was right, but it was their right. That doesn't mean that I support it. Don't throw words in my comments, handsome liberal. I've been
You
waiting to
need to
get you
wait.
straight
We got
since you
wait,
said,
Takesha. Takesha, wait a minute. We have an audience. People don't know what the hell you're talking about. Preface what you're
they
talking.
ain't
Let
got to
folks
know.
know what you're talking about.
I said I came up for you. I ain't entertaining the audience today. I came to get you straight. And let me make this comment right quick. Because Andy didn't know how to take up for herself. For the man that said that Andy was laying down for the ninjas, I'm pretty sure now she's satisfied. Because she ain't got to worry about trying to lay down and add something to your small penis while she laying down with you. Thank God for the ninjas. That a woman be haunted for the rest of her life. Now I got to go to my festivities. I will get with you later, and we'll talk.
Happy 4th. Talk to you
Happy
later.
4th.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Jesus, Lord, take the wheel. Takesha can squeeze in a lot, even in a short period of time. I always enjoy talking to her. And Andy in the comments says thank you for that defense. You did a lot in a short period of time. All right, going back to the box. Wow. The problem today is people are lazy to research or they're just plain ignorant. You think that's a problem only today, truth seeker? You think, we grew up believing that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Yeah, we grew up a lot more ignorant then than we are now. That is why so many people are suggesting on the 4th that they feel unpatriotic, is because there are a hell of a lot of Americans that have done their research and they're not happy with the direction of the country. That's why you're having so much dissent. So I don't know about that one. Appreciate that. My music, thank you. Real black woman, somebody said in the comments for Takesha. Can you explain how long a legit criminal president got 3 justices in the court? Can you explain how a legit criminal president got 3 justices in the court? Well, first of all, while Trump was president, he was not a criminal. The man is entitled to his day in court. While he was president, he did not have a criminal record. There were accusations made against him, but he was not officially a criminal. Even right now, he is not officially a criminal. He has not been found guilty in any criminal court. He's been found civilly liable for groping E. Jean Carroll, but he has not been found criminally liable of anything. So officially, Trump is not a criminal. Neither is Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. Hunter Biden is. Hunter Biden is guilty of crime, but Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton are not criminals either. So you got to get a guy's day in court. Looking in the comments here. Oh, shit. Joker. Thank you for that chandelier. Look beautiful. Appreciate that. He came from your side. Dim, sorry, not sorry. Kenny Davis, I don't quite get that comment. Who came from my side? A president doesn't. They can nominate, but the House and Senate decides who gets the job. That is true. I'm surprised you celebrate the 4th, says Dean B. Pro. And that's what we're here talking about. We're here asking, due to all of the controversial rulings by the Supreme Court, and I will go back to the box shortly, I'm asking the people, do you feel less patriotic this holiday? We're talking about rolling back Roe v. Wade. We're talking about making it now officially legal to discriminate against the LGBT community. We're talking about affirmative action no longer being in use in higher learning institutions. We're talking about tuition assistance. So we are asking that question, do you feel less patriotic nowadays? Because people are losing rights. I understand folks on the right, handing it back to the states and things like that. But it's impossible to deny that some folks have not lost rights due to what the Supreme Court has done. People are losing rights. And looking in the comments, Josh Bigelow says nobody has lost any rights. That makes zero sense at all. If you could get an abortion in Alabama yesterday and you cannot do it in Alabama today, you lost that right. How could you not see that? I mean, if you could get a cake made at the local shop and it was against the law to discriminate against you because you're a member of the LGBT community, you could do that yesterday, but now you cannot today. How is that not losing rights? Even if you listen to it from a states' rights perspective, well, you can still get an abortion. She just has to go to another state. Well, now it's going to cost you significantly more. Maybe you have to have an overnight stay. If you live in Miami or if you live in New Orleans and you want to have an abortion, you're going to be traveling hundreds of miles. If you live down there in the southern area of the Bible Belt, you're going to be traveling hundreds of miles before you can get that procedure. How is that not losing any rights? That makes no sense at all, Josh Bigelow. But you're always welcome to come on the program and let your boy know where I'm getting it wrong, because that makes no sense. Demanding someone makes you a peen cake isn't a right. Well, Polonia, it's not demanding someone. It's being able to go into business and expect to get treated like any damn body else. Now you're being told the business owner can treat you totally different than he can the next customer. Or better yet, just place a sign outside the window that says put an LGBT flag on a poster and then draw a circle with a line through it. Very similar to the colored, we don't serve colored folks or whites only. Well, heterosexual only. You can do that now. How is that not losing any rights? That doesn't make any sense. Just because you agree with it, and there's nothing wrong with agreeing. If you agree with it, you agree with it. But to say no one has lost rights is being disingenuous. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with Mizan 9 Kennel. Tap the screen.
Get your boy up to 45,000 likes. Appreciate you folks being here on July 4th with me. Mazan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, dear brother. I want to say that I listen to you often, and I'm grateful that you are on here as articulate as you are, and
Thank
that
you.
you seem to be a very fair brother in terms of the way you frame your dialogue. I'm a
I
student.
give it my best effort. I do appreciate that. So, July 4th, are you feeling any less patriotic now than maybe last year because of what's going on?
No, sir, brother. I am a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Mm.
So I do not believe in the patriotism in terms of traditional patriotism like most people would. I think that the country is exactly where it should be in terms of when we understand the mindset of the people. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said when he was in Iraq, he said that if the American people knew the truth about what was going on over there in terms of dirty bombs being used, he said that the people will respond properly. So you have a lot of people in this country that are miseducated. Part of what you're doing is educating people. So a lot of people are miseducated. As people become more educated and more sensitive to the suffering of others, you're going to see the people change. See, Donald Trump, whether you like Donald Trump or not, whether you like Joe Biden or not, they reflect the hearts and the minds of the people. So whatever you dislike in Trump, look around you, brother. That's in the people, in your neighborhood. Whatever you dislike in Biden, look around. That's in the people in your neighborhood. So we are in a war for the hearts and the minds of the people.
Mm.
And you got to think. You talked about education, people not feeling a little not patriotic because of what's going on. But brother, this stuff has been going on for a long time. The Republicans are going to blame the Democrats. The Democrats are going to blame the Republicans, and nobody's going to hold themselves accountable. That's
But
why
wait a minute,
I
let me.
can't
So
identify.
I'm listening to you speak, and it sounds like you don't really see any difference between the Democrats and Republicans at all.
Absolutely, brother. There's no difference between these parties. You go back and look at the history. You check the history for
I don't.
yourself.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait here. Okay, I got a strong disagreement. Okay, for instance, right now, if you are a member of the LGBT community, you're telling me it doesn't matter if the president is Democrat or Republican. It's not going to affect your life at all if you're a member of the LGBT community.
No, no. What I'm saying is this: people are going to look out for their interests. People are going to cater to their fears. You got to understand that there are certain. I agree with some of the Republicans, some of the Republican policy. I agree with some of the policies of the Democrats. But I'm gonna tell you this: they don't hold each other accountable.
No,
That's
I
a
agree with
fact.
that. I agree with the lack of
You
accountability, but
if
we're
you if you if
talking.
you're if you're a Democrat if you're a Democrat and you know some dirt on the Democrats, you in most cases, that's why I say you fair. In most cases, you're not going to highlight that during an election year, and vice versa. The
Yeah.
people have divided themselves. It's not about the country; it's about their particular party,
But
their
wait,
clique,
so
and
let
that's
me.
why the country is
So,
going to hell.
all right, so let me ask you this: do you vote at all? Do you vote in our presidential elections?
I vote absolutely. I vote. Yes, sir.
Do you lean right or
Absolutely.
left? If you don't see any difference in the party, if we have Trump versus Biden in 2024, would you not seeing any difference in the party? And if they're at the top of the ticket, Biden versus Trump, what would you do?
I run in the middle. I
You
go
got to
to the
vote
middle.
for one. You can't vote middle. You
Yes.
got to vote for one.
I mean, yeah, you can. There are some people who don't even get on the debate stage, brother. There are people that's going to run for president that they're going to completely ignore, and they have great
So, so
ideas
let
that can
me.
get the country.
So then I have to. This middle thing is interesting. So we had Biden versus Trump in 2024. Who did you vote for? Middle?
No, I think I voted for. I think in that election I voted for a candidate that was not really popular. I'm trying to remember. Was it Kanye West or
You don't
somebody else?
wait. So you don't even recall who you voted for in the last presidential election.
It was not Trump nor was it Biden because there were certain things about both of them that I disagreed with to the core.
What
So in
about
a case
what
like
about
that,
what about Hillary Clinton? What about Hillary Clinton and Trump in 2016? Where did your vote go?
my vote did not go for Hillary.
Did it go for Trump?
Did not go for Hillary.
Did it go for Trump?
I didn't vote for Trump either. I don't even know if I don't even know if I've been vote for name one of them. I think who else was on the ticket? There was somebody else.
I don't.
Uh, wasn't it the Green Party? There was somebody else that was on there.
So when is the last time you voted for a president that actually won the election?
When I voted for Obama.
Okay. All right. Just want to find out
Yeah,
because, in my
that was
humble
my last
opinion,
time.
you do realize a lot of folks will suggest you're throwing away votes, man. You're voting for these people that have no chance at all
No,
of winning.
but here's the thing. I see politics just slightly different. I mainly focus on local politics. I put a heavy emphasis on it because these are people that I can go and I can actually go and put my hands on. Some of these people I know. I could vote for Donald Trump. I could vote for Joe Biden. But at the end of the day, I don't see them being in tune with people like me. Not even one of them.
I mean, I
So,
get
I
the
mean,
point.
somebody could say that's throwing away a vote.
Well, yeah,
Somebody
if
could
you're
say that's
voting,
throwing away the vote. But at the end of the day, listen. At the end of the day, you are responsible for the person that you vote for. Okay? So I know everybody say, oh, we have the right to vote, this and that. But why even cast your vote if you don't have a person on there that you can have confidence in? Look at it right now.
But they
You
do.
can say that you got confidence in the
Here's
Bible
where
if you
you're
want to.
losing me. Here's where you're losing me. If a person is LGBT or if a woman is pro-choice, they have absolute confidence that the liberals are going to swing things their way. I mean, there are plenty of politicians at the presidential level you can have confidence in. If you're a woman who wants the right to choose, you can have confidence that the liberals are going to be pro-choice. So the idea that you can't have confidence in these people, I gotta disagree.
Okay, well let me put it to you this way. What happens when you are a person that you believe in women's rights, but you don't believe in the unnecessary abortions that take place every day? You got to go, you telling me you got to go one way or the other,
Well, when you really
right?
look at it, no, not that's not necessarily true. If you don't support unnecessary abortion, you're pro-life because the vast majority of abortions are unnecessary. So you don't support a woman's right to choose. You only want it done when there's a medical emergency or something like that. You're pro-life.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then that's all we were getting
Absolutely.
at. But I gotta move it on, man. It's been an interesting talk. You're always welcome back.
Yes, sir, my brother. Yes,
There
sir.
you could. Real quick, what state are you in?
I'm in Arkansas. I got Sarah Huckabee Sanders as the governor.
No, the reason I asked you that is because
Yeah.
you mentioned Minister Louis Farrakhan. I used to live across the street from the headquarters there in Chicago for about 20 years. I mean, I could literally throw a rock from my porch. I lived right there. They organized the Million Man March and all that right on my block. So, but I got to move it on, man. Appreciate you coming in.
Hey, peace.
Hey, you too. All right, looking, Jackie. Jackie said he don't even know what state he is. You stop. The man know what state he is in. He even mentioned Governor Huckabee Sanders. Damn Arkansas. Ex-wife is that. You know, it's got to be tough to be a representative of Minister Louis Farrakhan in Arkansas. That's probably one of the worst places to be down with the Nation of Islam in Arkansas. Wow. Hold women accountable and see what happens, says Rory Kane Corso. Well, if you start holding women accountable for abortion and things like that, you're going to criminalize women. That's what's going to happen. And I've said this on many broadcasts that there is nothing good coming down the pipe for women in these states that are pro-life now. Because if you're treating the unborn as if it is a life at conception, entitled to all of the rules and regulations of protecting life at conception, then there's going to be a hell of a lot of moms that are facing jail time. And what I mean by that is this. If I'm sitting in the car, lighting up a joint or doing hard drugs, and I got a 1-year-old on the seat besides me, and that child gets exposed to what I'm doing, I can be held criminally accountable. That's obviously endangerment of a child if the kid is sitting beside me. Well, because you're now treating the life of an unborn the same way you're treating a child. Saying, well, now if you're on drugs or hooked to using drugs while you're pregnant, you're entitled to the same criminality. Same thing if I'm driving down the street and I got a kid in the car with me that has no car seat on, or I got an older kid in there that's not wearing a seatbelt and I'm involved in an accident, I can be held accountable for what happened to that child because I should have my child seatbelted in or in a car seat. Well, what if I'm pregnant and I don't have a seatbelt on and I get into a head-on collision and end up having a miscarriage? Well, if you treat that child like it's a life, you can now be held criminally accountable for it. This is where this is going to go. Some of you folks may say no, but yeah, a savvy attorney could easily start holding you accountable for what's happening to the life inside of you. So, yeah, I totally believe that nothing good is coming down the pipe for females. It's going to be a hell of a lot of stuff that pregnant women do now that can result in them going to prison, can result in them being charged criminally. A lot of shit that they're doing now, I don't care if you just simply get on a roller coaster after finding out you knew you were pregnant and having a miscarriage. Well, now you can be held accountable for that. That's child endangerment. Going back to the box, Tap the screen. Let's make your boy go up to 50,000 likes. There's plenty of you folks in here, 400 plus. Tap the screen, get up to 50,000 likes. We'll keep it moving with Gen X. Always a pleasure.
Gen X, welcome back to the program. When's the last time something good came down the pipe?
What?
Gen
What
X,
is
good
up,
afternoon.
Mr. Tim? Happy 4th of July, my brother.
I
Man, I
like
got
the
to tell you,
backdrop.
Tim, that
Yeah,
shirt, man, that I want that. I want that right there.
Oh, so what? So I'm going to assume that unlike some of my liberal guests, you're not feeling less patriotic this July 4th?
Absolutely not. I don't never feel less patriotic. You know what? You see this shirt, my Metallica shirt? Just
Yeah.
because Metallica released a bad album, they released Saint Anger, don't mean I don't like Metallica anymore. They fucked up.
Yeah,
They made a bad album. They made a bad choice. I
but
still
what
love the
about
group.
this? But July 4th is honoring our veterans, honoring our freedom. What about
Hmm.
the notion that we have less freedoms this July 4th than in previous holidays? Is that not something to speak on?
You know, it's funny you should bring that up, Mr. Tim. I
That's
don't
my
see
job.
it as somebody losing rights. I see the other side of it. I see it as an unborn child gaining the right to life.
Mm.
And I think that's, I mean, that's very polarized thinking on my part, I think, but I don't think there's a lot of gray area there. Now, I will concede medical emergency, rape, both of which account for less than 1% of abortions. 99% of abortions are done out of convenience. They're done for birth
Yeah.
control. That's the
Yeah.
reality of it.
Yeah.
But I would concede, even as a hardcore pro-lifer, if a woman is raped, that's disgusting. They should kill the dude that did it. Oh, sorry, unalive. And if the attorney wants to terminate the pregnancy, I think she has that right. A medical emergency. I do believe that, yeah, I mean, it's a horrible thing.
So let me ask you this, because before
Sure.
Roe v. Wade, you had women finding ways to do basically home abortions of sorts. Do you believe if a woman is pregnant and she is denied the right to terminate the baby, let's say at 3 months, let's get away from this late term stuff. But let's say she's 3-4 months along and
Okay.
she does not want the kid. There's no health issue. She hasn't been raped or anything. She just does not want to have to carry this kid. Maybe she broke up with the boyfriend or something like that. And her state does not allow her to have an abortion. So she does something herself to take the life of the unborn inside her. Do you think she should be held criminally accountable for that?
I do. I believe she should be held criminally accountable the same way. If you brought the scenario, what about a pregnant lady gets into a car accident and the baby dies?
Right.
If she's at fault, if she's driving recklessly, it's no different than a guy that takes his 2-year-old and goes out drinking and driving and kills the child. You are criminally negligent. Now, proving criminal negligence, that's not an easy thing to do in court. But if you're found
Let me
criminally
give you an
negligent,
example. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for instance, it's a DUI. This woman has found out she's pregnant by her ex, and she's pissed off that she let herself slip like that. She went out and had too many drinks. Gets involved in a DUI accident. Do you believe she should be held criminally accountable if she has a miscarriage?
absolutely.
So we're talking
Uh,
vehicular. That's basically vehicular homicide.
Negligent manslaughter. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Criminally negligent manslaughter. And the reason I think that, Tim, let me put some behind my thought process is that criminal negligence is criminal negligence. She knew that drinking and driving behind the wheel could result in not only hurting herself and another driver, but her unborn child as well. And by God, I will stand by that child deserves the same rights at 2 months as they do at 2 years. People make the argument, well, he can't live on its own. If you take a 2-year-old and put him in a room by himself, even if you put a refrigerator in there, that 2-year-old's going to perish within a very short amount of time because he can't take care of himself. It's the
That is
same life.
true. That's a
It's
good
the
point.
same line.
But do you not understand, based on the conversation you and I are having, can you not see where I made the point that a lot of negativity is coming down the pipe for women? You're agreeing that they should be potentially charged with negligent homicide here. All of this stuff didn't used to be something women had to fear. So they're now being held to a much higher level of accountability for the infant growing inside of them now.
Tim, you always make an intelligent argument. And yes, I absolutely see your side 100%. Doesn't mean I agree with it. But I respectfully see it and
Well, give me
understand
give me
where you're
give me
coming
give me the
from.
part you disagree with.
Anything that would suggest that she shouldn't be held criminally liable.
Okay.
I believe she should.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm the liberal in me. I am against mass incarceration. So I'm always against just simply creating new ways for people to end up going to prison. And I do believe what we're talking about here is going to result in a lot of women, because a lot of women have miscarriages. So now, just like if you got a 1-year-old child that you've had birth and you have at home with you, if that child suddenly dies, get child services and things like that. They want to know why that kid died. Well, now that's going to happen with every miscarriage. Where every miscarriage, they're now looking for crimes, and women didn't used to have to deal with that.
Now, there I can, that I would disagree with on the side you're that I can fight with you about. I don't think that every miscarriage should be a crime. I think if there's gross negligence that can be provable, that is apparent, absolutely. But you can't just go around and say every woman that has a miscarriage needs to be investigated for negligently harming her child. I think that's kind of going overboard, in my opinion.
Well, we would hope, but you may have a disgruntled ex-boyfriend or something like that that wants to say, look, she did this or that, or she was smoking some drugs, or she was doing physical activity she shouldn't have been doing. You're always going to have. She didn't take her prenatals. I mean, people are going to come up with stuff. The point I'm just simply trying to make is this: this does not hone well for women. The outcome for this it's a negative for women.
It's a slippery slope, and I'll give you that. I'll concede there. It's a slippery slope. But I want to say something positive on this 4th of July, Tim. I want
Okay,
to say something positive.
sure.
I'm going to tell you how much I celebrate diversity. I drink margaritas on the 4th of July. That's diversity. All right? Man, and stop changing the prices of eggs at the supermarket.
Yeah, I went to the supermarket yesterday. The price of eggs, 84 cents. 84
$1.19
cents.
here.
So are we giving Biden credit now that the price of eggs has went down?
Can't do.
Right. If
Well,
he
okay. Well,
if he is
you know what?
wait a minute. If he is responsible when the eggs are skyrocketing in price, why does he not get any credit when the price go down? That's not fair.
I was joking.
Okay.
I'll absolutely give you boy credit. Right on,
Thank you.
Biden. I can have my egg salad again and not pay $15 a pound for it.
But let me hear you say. Let me hear you say 3 words. Let me hear you say thanks, Joe Biden.
You know what? In honor of America, thanks, Joe Biden.
There you go. I think I finally scored one. All
Tim, I
right,
got
Joe.
company. I had a friend just show up. I have company. It's always a pleasure, man. Um, I'm going to sit back. Happy 4th of July, my brother. We will do this again soon. Love you, dude. You do a great job, and I like the fireworks in the background.
Always an honor. Gen X, come on back. Gen X, everybody. All right. Move on. I just got fuel today for $1.77. Really? A gallon tonight. Back memories. Wait a minute. I just got fuel today for $1.77 a gallon. Brought back memories of Trump. Days really felt nice. Well, how did you must have some kind of a discount to get fuel for $1. Let me just say this. Even if you favor Trump, there is something called inflation, and just father time has kicked in. I don't think if you get Trump again in 2024, you're going to get gas for $2 a gallon. I don't think that
Trump, listen, I understand some of my beloved MAGA. You know what I'm talking about, my friends of the program. You guys believe Trump has this insane amount of power. You know, the Ukrainian-Russian war is going to be over within 24 hours or something like. I don't believe you're going to get $2 gas back. I do believe he would drill, baby, drill, as he said, but I don't know if you can roll things back to 2016. I'd be surprised to see it, and if he did make that happen, I'd certainly get on the program and concede, but I don't think it would happen. Looking in the comments, no, he's going to produce oil again. Yeah, I believe that. Gas has gone up and down for decades. Look it up. That is true. No discount, Hanson. And that's awesome, Brownsbacker. If you got fuel for $1.77 without any discount, where the hell are you located at? Wow. Here, I'll put the gas price in a format that makes more sense. The year. Okay. I saw you had 1.776. I mean, normally there are some fuel places that round it down to a tenth of a cent. I think at the pump it does that. So I just went with the dollars. Actually, it would be $1.78 technically. But okay, I get your Independence Day year in the fuel price there. Looking in the comments here. Gas didn't go up until Biden got in office, says BC. And I see the Confederate flag there, but in regards to gas not going up till Biden got in office, do you not hold the pandemic accountable for any of this stuff? I mean, when Biden got in office, we were in the middle of a world event that nobody has seen. That has something to do with gas prices. I mean, it's not just strictly what was going on with Biden. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving. Will, good.
Welcome to the program. Feeling less patriotic. Some Americans are suggesting they feel less patriotic in honor of the Supreme Court rulings. Are you one of those, Will? Good afternoon.
No, I'm definitely not. But I definitely. What was I? No, I'm not. I'm definitely patriotic. But I wanted to bring up a point. Let's just
Sure.
see. I just wanted to see how you were, sir. And I don't mean to put you on the spot. Okay.
I'm
And it's
ignorant
and
as
it
hell. That's why. That's
and
why
and
I talk to the folks. I don't know anything. I'm ignorant as hell. But go
and,
ahead.
well, I'll bring up this conversation. Did you? Was George Washington a Republican or Democrat?
I don't know.
He was
I don't know.
neither. He was neither. He was independent. That's confirmed on Google. Okay. And I also wanted to bring up that during the Civil War, he was. We all forget our history. He was actually an American militia officer. Statement founding father. He was an officer of a militia group up north when they took over the South.
Let
He
me ask you
also.
that in regards to seeking ignorance or whatever. Was the Civil War fought over slavery?
Yes, but you wait, but you got to hear this. George Washington, they found 123 slaves in his house. So riddle me that.
Okay. Do you
That's actual
believe?
facts.
Do you
Hmm?
believe towards the end of the Jim Crow era, during the Martin Luther King fight for civil rights, do you believe a party switch actually took place?
During Martin Luther King's,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Whereas
so.
Martin Luther King was able to convince the Democrats to give African American civil rights, and most folks, because African Americans used to be with the Republican Party, and the Republican Party used to be the other side, and they also. Do you believe a party switch happened during that era, where the Democrats were racist, but because
Yes.
because they were starting to give African American civil rights, the racist Democrats left the party, went Dixiecrat, and then went to the Republicans. Do you believe that
That's
happened?
That's actually a possibility. I mean, anything's possible. We don't know because I'm going to tell you the Earth is the Earth is 4.540. Sorry, is it 4 billion light years or 543 billion light years? The Earth has been here that long. So I mean, how do we know all the evidence and all the
We're talking
facts of life?
about Republicans and Democrats. We don't
Okay,
need to
okay.
go back to we don't need to go back to
Okay.
AC.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's possible. I don't know
okay.
that. I
All
don't
right.
know that
Let me
answer.
let me
So
ask
I'm
you
not
one
going to
more
pretend that
question.
I do.
Let me ask you one more question. This is coming straight out of the comment section. BC says, The Confederate flag is not racist. It stands for pride and heritage. Do you believe that?
No, I think it's a Confederate. I mean, that's what. Did he look that up though? Is that a fact or not? Because I mean,
No.
you
In your humble opinion, do you believe when
oh,
you see folks flying that flag, do you believe that's pride and heritage, or do you believe there's racism attached to that?
I mean, you would have to ask one of those people that
I'm
carries one of
asking
those
you.
flags.
I am
I don't
asking
know.
you.
I
You
don't
don't
know
have.
because I don't believe in that. Like I don't believe in slavery or whatever. I don't
So
believe. I don't have a
So if
Confederate
you
flag
see, let me
that I
let me
fly.
ask you this: if you've seen someone with a pickup truck driving down
Yeah.
the street and they had two huge Confederate flags on sticks stuck out the back of it, so the flags were waving as they drove by, would you
Yeah.
have any opinion of them choosing those flags to fly?
Well, yeah, I definitely would, and I definitely wouldn't wave at them. I mean, because yeah, they could be racist. Yeah, I mean, anything's possible, right?
Okay. So
Yes,
but you don't see the Confederate flag just on its face as being a symbol of racism.
I do, but I mean, I do.
Okay, I'm just trying to find. Even if you
Yeah, I
don't,
do.
there's no problem with that. I'm just trying to
No,
get
no,
your opinion on it.
but I do, and
Okay.
I do find it racist. But I actually wanted to ask you. I mean, hey, I'm glad you're not in your car today, handsome liberal buddy.
Okay.
Happy Fourth.
Thank
Um,
you.
one of your one of your people that came in the box was hilarious about transgenders drinking beer and like something
Yeah.
about like that was that transgenders don't drink beer and I just went what the it's 2023 and you're talking about transgenders drinking and beer and you were asking him do you know any transgender people and he was like oh I don't really go to the bar and see those people so
So let me ask you that though. In regards to folks saying they feel less patriotic, do you believe transgender individuals with this Republican Supreme Court? Do you think they're losing rights?
uh, it's hard to. Very possible, yeah. I mean, there are people losing rights, but I mean, the government's not rounding us up and throwing us in cages or anything. I mean, that's not extreme yet. It's there,
Well,
but
but wait a minute. During the Jim Crow era, they
yeah,
weren't
it was.
rounding us up and throwing us in cages either. But you would definitely say people were losing rights, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
So you can lose rights without people being rounded up and thrown in cages.
Yeah, when I don't mean cage, I don't mean by cages like FEMA camps is what I was referring to, kind of stuff. Like,
Do you believe with the rolling back of Roe v. Wade, do you think women are losing rights?
Yeah, in a way I do, but I don't. I need to look into Roe v. Wade, why that was, what that's about, because I didn't really look into what Roe v. Wade was about.
You know, Roe v. Wade has been around for over a half a century. You don't know what that's all about?
No, because I never really looked up Roe v. Wade and didn't do the history on that. I'm sorry, I just
Remember, you
don't know.
started our conversation out by trying to make sure I'm smart, right?
I did, buddy. Well, I would say I'm like a free thinker, but I mean, I don't know exactly what that was, uh, what Roe v. Wade was about. So
How could you not know that? And then I want to say this real
I
quick in the
didn't.
comments. User
Yeah.
26 said Roe v. Wade was based on a lie. I want you to understand, in regards to those who suggest that Roe v. Wade is based on a lie, the LGBT ruling, where it was all about a web host individual that did not want to serve the LGBT community, that's not a real case. That was also based on a lie. There was no web hoster that did not want to serve the LGBT community. That whole thing was made up to get that challenge. So understand that when you bringing up Roe v.
Oh,
Wade was not based
oh.
on anything.
So that's about LGBT people getting or gays getting married, right? Is that what it's about? Kind of, fine. Roe v. Wade, kind of. I don't.
No, you think Roe v. Wade is about gays
Oh, I
getting
don't
married? Is
know
that what
what.
you're asking?
I did. I just wanted to ask you what it was about. I mean, I don't pay. I didn't ever pay attention to that. I'm sorry. The
Okay.
Roe
Roe
v.
v. Wade is about a woman having the right to choose on whether to terminate a pregnancy or not.
Oh, okay. Then yeah. Like then I wouldn't have an opinion. I would just say a woman has a right to choose what they want to do with their own body. So
Okay. All right. All
that's
right,
my
Will, I
opinion.
do gotta move it on. It's been a very interesting talk. Appreciate
Oh,
you
but I
coming in.
didn't. I just wanted to finish something that we talked about on January 6th real quick. And
Go ahead.
you brought up that the evidence didn't. They left out the because I can there can go back and look at the evidence that they were showing people. You were talking about that they were officers were letting people in. That was actually literally what they were doing, and they haven't brought that up. But I also wanted to say
They
that
didn't all
you
wait, but you do realize they didn't all get in by
no.
invite. There were people
No,
busting
there
windows.
were ones that were fighting back. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
But I'm just wanting to clear that up. And also, I find it interesting that as soon as the electors came up and Arizona was being challenged, that's when the riot all happened. But you don't find that a coincidence that Trump and Pence was trying to overturn the election and their electors to challenge them, and they were going to do that. But as soon as the riot happened, that's why it makes me wonder if there was so much fraud going on. Why did they not? Why did they let them in? And if you think about it, it makes common sense is they weren't allowed to actually overturn that because they wanted to disrupt. That's why I call it a CIA hoax, because you think about it, or just, does that make sense? Do you get where I'm coming from?
My main problem is this. Here's my problem. When you look at January 6th, it is literally 2 months and a couple of days after the election. And in my humble opinion, based on the evidence that had been presented in those first 2 months after
But
the
it was
election,
to overturn the election. You know that.
that ain't what I'm talking
What?
about. That's not what I'm talking
Okay.
about. What I'm saying is based on what had been presented. Trump was saying he won by a landslide, and many
Yeah.
folks who showed up on January 6th believed Trump had won the election. Based on the evidence that had been presented in only 2 months' time, there was no reason for those people to show up being that angry. There was no evidence. In
Absolutely
those
no
two
reason.
months, there was no evidence that Trump had won by a landslide. They
But no,
should have
no.
waited till the investigation was concluded. But to be that angry on
Yeah.
January 6th, there was no evidence to prove that Trump had won by a landslide other than
Well,
them
okay.
saying it.
Well, yeah, I know that, but what I'm saying is the electors were going over. Do you remember that was the day that the election was not certified at that time? He was looking at the electors and he was opening the, and then like as soon as they got to Arizona, it was definitely challenged up there. They were like, no, we're going to actually look into that elector
I you know I
to that
don't
state.
I can't speak on it because in my opinion, when you take into consideration what Trump was saying, and he's the one saying he's been victimized, it's like showing up and a woman saying her husband beat her, and she's saying he used a stick, he used a gun, he used a pitchfork, and it's like all it,
Right.
first they're saying some ballots were found in the river. You got ballot folks that were cheating over here. These people over here were immigrants voting.
What
Dominion
about the
machine. They
video of the
literally were
Georgia?
throwing
Sorry.
everything against the wall and
What
trying to
about the
find what would stick. And
what
that
about
to
the
me,
sorry,
once
go ahead.
once you throw out a bunch of discredited stuff, to me the case is over with.
What about the evidence that the ballots were coming under the table and being counted after people were told to leave? And that is actually valid, and they were looking into it, and all of a sudden, those people didn't get charged with anything. I
Yeah, but,
mean,
but but that's the point I'm trying to make about my husband used a pitchfork, he used a gun, he used a sword. There was the Dominion voting machine issue that has been completely discredited. You've thrown out so much stuff that
I know it's
hold on, wait a minute,
discredited.
hold on. When you
Okay,
throw out so much stuff that is discredited, even if you come with something that's the truth, by the end nobody wants to listen to you. That's the point
right?
I'm making.
Of course not, of course not. But you do realize that Arizona was getting challenged from these electors, and Mike Pence could have overturned it, could have overturned the electors. But I mean, that would be chaos and riots. So from the left, and you know that. We all know this.
All I
Look at
know is
this.
all
I
I
mean, we
know
don't
is
know if cities were burned.
All I
Yeah.
know is Trump said he was going to surround himself with the best and brightest. And when it came to him saying the election was stolen, most of the people ruling against him were people that he appointed personally. And he lost. I
Yeah.
mean, up to and including Mike Pence. Those are his people.
Yeah, but you don't remember cities burning down in Minneapolis, and they were showing like videos of this of cities burning in Minneapolis for the rioters.
What does that got to do with the conversation?
Well, just I was just bringing it up. It had nothing to do with the conversation. I thought that no, probably had nothing to do with it, but
I mean,
yeah,
if
it did
we
because if they would have overturned it, You know
I
how
mean, we
crazy
could
the
talk
left
about
would have gotten burning down cities?
here's what I don't like about the cities burning down. When it comes to African Americans, we talk about they're burning down cities and things. The
It
mob
wasn't
was taking
only
over
America.
cities.
It
The
wasn't only
mob was
America.
taking over cities long before Black Lives Matter. Nobody talked about the mob taking over all of Vegas or all of New York. What's the
No, they
point?
didn't. They didn't. But there were not only black people involved in there. Were white. There were
Yeah, but
plenty of people.
what does any
What's
of
the
that
point
have
of
to
doing
do
it?
with January? That's just an
Oh,
excuse to
okay.
get people to look away from January
Because
6th.
they don't. Well, they don't want a full-on more innocent people to die. I mean, if they're stealing and they're rioting and they're going nuts, like they just. It has a lot to do with they couldn't do it. It's common sense. They didn't want chaos out in the
That's not
street.
true, though. Let me ask you this. Let's say you get a bunch of African Americans that go into a Walgreens and steal every damn thing in the store,
Yeah,
as opposed to a mob boss that goes into Walgreens and says, "You're going to give me $10,000 per month in protection money, or your store is going to suddenly have a fire." What's the difference? Getting robbed is getting robbed.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying that the mob is any different than the people that you were making the comment about that they would just go in and steal at stores. But hey, I mean, I don't know what else. I was great talking to you, but I'll let you move on to your next guest. Thank you for at least hearing me out.
Always come on back anytime. And I
do agree in the comments. Somebody pointed out, I think that was Stacey Taylor that pointed out rightfully, skin color is the difference. Exactly. We talk about African Americans committing all this damn crime, black on black violence, cities burning down. Well, as I pointed out to the last caller, you couldn't do shit in Las Vegas without the mob. They were robbing businesses right and left. You want to open up a pizzeria in New York, you got to pay hush money, you got to pay protection money. Getting robbed is getting robbed. Just because they're not in there busting windows and taking every damn thing off the shelf, if they're making you pay 30-40% of your profits to keep the business open, it's the same damn thing. We can talk about businesses in San Francisco, Walmarts and things. They are closing because they get ripped off too damn much from African Americans. You don't think the mob was shutting down businesses because folks couldn't afford to pay the hush money, couldn't afford to pay the extra money in terms of permits and shit because they wouldn't let them open up businesses in their neighborhood? Crime is crime. Everything we talk about what African Americans are doing now, the mafia was doing all of that shit. There were bodies all over the street during the Al Capone era. They were shooting all kinds of people. You think people were not afraid to navigate and walk around during the height of the mafia? And yet, when that was happening, no one suggested, well, all white people are bad. You think the mafia wasn't doing all of the same shit that African Americans are doing nowadays? The only difference is it looked better because they were wearing suits. He didn't wear his pants around his ass. But at the end of the day, if you get killed or if your shop is being, robbed, getting robbed is getting robbed. Doesn't matter if the guy got a damn suit on. If he's forcing you to give him money and he's robbing you, he's robbing you. So I never could understand that we're talking about cities are being burned and all of that. Yet we know in Las Vegas, for half a century, you couldn't open up a casino or anything without the mob taking all your damn money. City of New York, you could barely even get cement poured to build anything without the mob taking all your damn money. Is it any different? Just because you don't see it on TV? I mean, do you realize how many people that were killed and were hurt during those eras? Does that not matter? Now all of a sudden, well, the blacks are doing it. They look really violent. It's always been happening. It's always been happening. Looking in the comment section, the mob started unions. Yeah, they started unions and they were ripping them off. It's the same shit. I mean, all of the stuff, the only difference is because of probably skin color, the media shows you more of what the African Americans are doing. But we all know, all you got to do is watch a mob movie. Everything from the sale of gas to the sale of regular everyday products. They had their hands in all of that shit. You couldn't open up a business. Just like now in the hood, you feel like it's unsafe to open up a store because they're going to come in and rob you. That's the same shit that was happening in Boston, Philadelphia, New York. I mean, you couldn't open up a store because the mob boss was going to come in and rob you. It's the same shit. It literally is the same shit. It just looked more classier getting robbed by the mob than it did by a mob of African Americans. But at the end of the day, your bottom line is your bottom line. And not only that, but unlike the African Americans, the mob were getting the blessing of the police department and most of your politicians in the neighborhood. So it was actually even more corrupt. But for some reason, nobody looked at them and said, well, all white people are violent. Just want to point that out. Anyhow, looking in the comments, psych reason for the creation of the Republican Party was to give the black man the right to vote. Stump Hunter, in regards to the creation of the Republican Party being the reason, one of the reasons to get a white man the right to vote, well, the Supreme Court just shot them down earlier this month or late last month because they were trying to stop African Americans from voting at all in Alabama. A Republican Supreme Court ruled that Alabama was trying to silence African American vote. So the Republican Party has made a few changes since the time you're talking about. What about them trying to get rid of Anchor Baby's amendment? Ernie Contreras, yeah, that's another one that's coming. That is another one that's coming. It's a right-wing Supreme Court. Expect right-wing policies. As they say, elections have consequences. So it is what it is. We'll go back to the bots. We'll keep it moving with Stacy Taylor. Good.
Happy holidays to you folks tuning in, or happy July 4th. Stacy Taylor. Question was, do you feel any less patriotic because of what the Supreme Court is doing? On July 4th, does this shake your patriotism at all?
I'm not sure I can say yes, it does. Because, I mean, when it comes to America, I've always given them the side eye. So,
You've
it's
always
another
given it the
Tuesday,
side eye.
the side eye.
Why is that?
Just because I believe this country has the potential to be great, but it's so much shit that they miss out on. There's so many things that they misstep on.
Well, we were
And they,
founded on slavery. What do you mean? You said the potential to be great. What were you expecting?
I say the potential. Potential, I mean, they're going to do it.
Well, even if you look at how we were founded in regards to what we did to the Native Americans, we pretty much took the country from its rightful owner. Where is the potential to be great coming from? I mean, it's like you go and steal something. Well, I got the potential to make it great. You literally took it in a criminal way.
Right. In that aspect, I guess I say they have the potential if they would go back and truly right their wrongs and stop making making it worse.
How could we do that? Let's start with the Native Americans. How could we right that wrong?
God, that's a question I would really have to sit down and think about because
Black
that's a
folks.
lot.
Black. Let's go with black folks. How can we right that wrong?
Now, don't you can't be saying that on their holiday. They get mad when we talk about anything about our community. Now they be ready to fight you in the comments, okay? Because apparently they did nothing wrong. So don't come on now, Tim. The Klan gonna
All
be
right. So in
outside
other words,
marching the cross.
we have no intentions to right. We have no intentions to right our wrongs. In other words.
From the looks of it, no, because it's a lot of stuff they still won't even admit was wrong. Like that's the first thing you have to admit that, okay, hey, you know what? In these things we were wrong. We made these promises after we did those wrong things, and we still didn't commit to it. And now we're turning around telling you that shit didn't happen. And if I acknowledge that it happened, it don't matter. Get over it. Move on. So it's like they just keep the wheel turning, but nothing is coming from it.
So what do you think about what's happening in modern times, right? With the rolling back of Roe v. Wade? Do you believe women are losing rights?
Yeah.
I got a lot of
Me
viewers
myself.
that are suggesting. I got a lot of viewers that are suggesting nobody is losing rights at all. What do you think is making them say that?
It's kind of hard to look at people losing rights when you're never affected. If you are a white male who is pro life, then guess what? Roe v. Wade is going to look like a bonus to you because you're not being negatively affected by it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. What about the LGBT community?
I feel like that's damn not near the same thing that I'm not even gonna say my grandparents because my mother went to school with Ruby Bridges. Okay, so that's basically the same rhetoric that my mom and her siblings and my other aunts and uncles and even my grandparents had to go through, literally being able to walk into a business or attempt to go into a business and somebody tell you we don't serve all of the various
Yeah.
racial epithets they used to like to say. So because somebody who lives their life just a little bit differently to you, they're not trying to push it on you, but because they are in the same sex marriage or relationship and they're coming to purchase something from your establishment and you can tell them no, like what? And all that does is
So
open up the door for other things, other
yeah,
people to
oh
be
yeah,
discriminated against.
I definitely agree. It opens up the door for expansion on discrimination. But how do you respond? Somebody like when we were talking about righting wrongs. Sean Everett in the comments said, "We today never owned slaves. We today did nothing to Native Americans. That was people in the past." So when you suggest righting wrongs of the past, how do you respond to folks who say the people who did folks wrong, they're all dead now? So let bygones be bygones. How do you respond to that?
How do I respond to that? The people who quote unquote did things that were wrong may be dead, but guess what? Those wrongs your ass benefit from.
And you're talking about white privilege.
I'm not even just talking about white privilege. I'm talking about being able to stand on stolen land and claim it as your own or claim it as something that belongs to you and telling other people who have a problem with things that did happen and are happening that they're unpatriotic and they need to leave.
Yeah. All right, I don't think I disagree with any of that because there is certainly land, stolen land that has been passed down from generations. People still own farms that's been in their families for years that they were given free when African Americans did not were not entitled to any land at all. So the idea that nothing from the era of slavery affects African Americans or whites in modern time, I've never bought into that because there is a hell of a lot of wealth that was accumulated through during that time period that
Some of
folks
our
of today
biggest
are still
banks
enjoying.
still benefit from that.
Yeah, yeah, I don't disagree with that. But there are a lot of folks who do and will swear up and down everything that happened back then has been neutralized, and there's no reason to be complaining about it now.
We could not even go back as far as slavery. We can go back during segregation and Jim Crow. I can stand across from somebody whose grandfather served in the military just like mine in World War I. He came back and he got that GI Bill to buy a house and everything else. And my grandfather was told, "Oh, thank you for your service, but your black ass ain't gonna get it, and you
Mm,
going right back to these projects."
wow.
So that
You
and
know,
their grandchildren are now living in or have access to that land and that home that it sits on.
yeah.
So
I wish I had it because I used to be pretty close to my grandfather. He was a World War II veteran. And I wasn't as politically involved as I am now, but I wish I had, if I could go have a time to speak back to him, I would have asked him, what were you fighting for? Because you came back from World War II in the 40s and you certainly weren't fighting for your freedom. I mean, we may
right.
have defeated the Japanese and the Germans, but you came back to a country that treated you like shit. So I would like to ask African Americans that fought in the Second World War, like, what were you fighting for? I
My
mean,
mom, my mom enrolled in the military. I want to say the late '60s, early '70s, and I would ask her that all the time because even then, even though the civil rights era was passed, there was still a lot of racism, segregation, redlining, and all of that. And I even asked her, like, what was your purpose for standing up for this country for 25 plus years? Only to every time we came back into the states, you were disrespected, not only as a black person, but as a black woman. Like, how did that feel? And she said it hurt, but she wanted to just try to help her family prove that they belong here and we're just as good as anybody else.
wow. That's true patriotism right there. That's truly being devoted to your country. It's kind of like a pet, where even if the pet owner is mistreating the animal is still loyal to the pet. That is true patriotism right there. But I gotta move it on, Stacy.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming in.
All right. See you next time.
Absolutely a pleasure.
Get in the comments real quick. Nina Marie pointed out, y'all realize your ancestors in Africa sold you right. I want to respond to that because you hear that often that, plenty of African Americans, or many Africans, plenty of Africans sold their own people into slavery. And that is 100% true. But here is the difference. And here is why you often hear people, people ask, well, why don't you blame them? They sold you. When the white European settlers went to Africa, if you purchase a slave, for instance, let's say, for instance, you purchased my ass. You came over there, you purchased me. You're buying one person. So, yeah, you're correct. The person who sold me is as equally responsible as the person who purchased me. I agree with that. However, once you take me home, and now you're forcing me to reproduce, and you're enslaving my child, you're enslaving my grandchild, my great-grand, you've enslaved my entire family tree. The person in Africa that sold you one guy, he's not going to get the same credit as you for his entire damn family tree. You're talking about one person, not a whole generation after generation after generation. You literally took one person and just simply kept their entire family tree in bondage for 200-300 years. And you're saying, well, the one guy that sold this person to me 300 years ago, he's equally as responsible. That doesn't fly. That doesn't make any sense. And that is why you don't hear African Americans I keep saying African Americans, Africans, why you don't hear Africans getting the same blame as folks on the mainland here. Is because you're comparing the selling of one person to the purchaser who then literally enslaved an entire family tree full of people for hundreds of years. The two don't measure up. They don't measure up. But I understand the argument, and we discuss it all the time. Listen, folks, as always, I do got to go ahead and end this live. I'm ready to eat just like the rest of you folks. It was less than 1% of all Africans were slavers. Yeah, well, most white people in America were not slave owners either. The problem was everybody was passive about it. Just like now with LGBT losing rights, a lot of folks, it's not my fight. I'm not anti-LGBT, but it's not my fight. Well, as Martin Luther King once said, for evil to exist, all it takes is for good men to stand by and do nothing. So even though it's not your fight, you know folks are losing rights. You know they're being mistreated. Hopefully you're not next. Hopefully I'm not next. But we know, based on what the Supreme Court has did, people are losing rights. They're not bitching for nothing. They're losing rights. Anyhow, appreciate you folks rolling with me. Enjoy your 4th. See you in the next broadcast.